Hey everyone, this is the ThinkEnergy podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Seguin from Hydro Ottawa. Are you looking to better understand the fast-changing world of energy? Well, the ThinkEnergy podcast isn't your ordinary energy show. Every 2 weeks, we take you on a tour and discuss, through a communication lens, some of the coolest trends, emerging technologies, and latest innovations. So stay tuned as we explore some traditional and some quirky facets of this industry. This is the ThinkEnergy podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 18 of the ThinkEnergy podcast. What's the attention span of a goldfish? Well, it's approximately 8 seconds. And if recent studies are to be believed, humans now share the same attention span. True or not, given the endless noise in our digital world, it is paramount more than ever that content is timely, relevant, and most of all, engaging. Today we'll be having a conversation with one of Canada's largest utility as they share how they position their brand and how they enhance and secure customer engagement by leveraging different technologies. More importantly, how they keep their audience's attention for more than 8 seconds. So here's today's big question. How do you hold your audience's attention for longer than 8 seconds in an increasingly cluttered and competitive space like social media? In this episode of ThinkEnergy, I'm joined by the Director of Marketing and Communications and Brand Strategy at BC Hydro, Cynthia Dicey. Cynthia, how did BC Hydro become the best-loved brand in British Columbia?
Well, thanks for asking. It's an annual study that Ipsos Reid runs in the province, along with BC Business Magazine. And, usually we crack the top 10 just due to the sheer size of our organization in the province. But this year we worked a lot harder. We really reshaped our brand platform, started reaching out in social channels a lot more. We're a lot more visible with one tone and feel to all our campaigns. We also had the good fortune of having a storm that happened in December just before the survey went to market, and that obviously plays a big role in that. Who
were some of the competitors? Who were you being compared to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a who's who of companies in BC. You know, I think WestJet's thrown in the mix there, London Drugs, Van City, TELUS, Fortis, a whole range of companies across sectors in the province.
Very interesting. We're witnessing an increase in channel clutter. Organizations will need to better manage customer bandwidth. Can you talk to us about implementing a cohesive, synchronized approach that has enabled BC Hydro to rise above that noise?
There's a lot of clutter. I mean, I'm witness to it every day when I think about myself and my own consumption habits on Instagram. 1 minute I'm looking at a video of a recording artist. The next minute I'm wanting to look at a home renovation. So I know it's out there, and there's no doubt that if you're an electric company or electric utility, you're not the must-have content that folks are seeking out and wanting to consume. So how do we rise above the noise? Well, we're very disciplined in how we use our brand in the market, our tones, our campaigns. Consistency is really key. We actually have one of our employees working full-time as our spokesperson. We call him Dave in the market, and that's his real name as well. And he's been able to kind of tell a story of BC Hydro across channels and really start to cut through the clutter. We manage our channels all separately and in different ways for different audiences, and we've had a lot of great traction there.
Can you expand a bit on Dave? I was going to ask you that because I've done my homework and I have seen what BC Hydro is, and this is truly amazing. Like it is a great story. But just expand a bit, unfold the Dave phenomena.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Like it was a lot of great things coming together for us, and we've watched other brands have key spokespeople. We see Canadian Tire has a Canadian Tire guy, A&W has the A&W guy. They bring a lot of credibility to a brand as a spokesperson. We wanted to go one step further. We did a call out to find an employee who could play the role that of our spokesperson across all of our channels and properties. In Dave, and his real name is Dave.
So any employee could have applied?
We had, I think, 30 to 35 folks.
Really?
We had a casting call internally, and we shortlisted to a top 5, and we took those top 5 out into the streets of Vancouver and asked them to engage with our customers to see their response.
Engage with the population in the selection process also.
He did, and it was so we could see how they would be on camera, and if they were really if they had the chops to do it and do it on a regular basis. And we lucked out. I mean, it's Dave has been a good spokesperson. If you go online, you can see him in lots of our content. He is he appeals to an older demographic. He appeals to a younger demographic. He's not threatening. His whole persona is being helpful, and certainly that's been wonderful for the brand and very, very recognizable. He's a redhead with a red beard and is a jovial guy. We always put him in a cardigan, and he's got a great following with 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds.
Very interesting. Maybe we can just push a bit more on the engagement with the customers. How is BC Hydro going beyond billing and outage communications to actually deepen that relationship?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Dan. And we always kind of talk about people really only think about their power when it's not there. So when there's an outage, or people really only think about their power when they get that bill. Our secret weapon has really been our conservation program to build that base. It's our Power Smart program. It's been around for 30 years. It's almost had its own brand identity within the BC Hydro brand. It's the helpful brand. It's the brand that's trying to help you save money. It's the brand that's trying to help you save energy. So we've had a lot of great traction in the market that's moved us beyond being thought of as just another utility bill.
Are you able to unpack your social media strategy? I want those secrets here.
I bet you do in Ottawa.
How does the strategy align with your company's organizational goals and objectives? Okay, can you expand on the roadmap?
I sure can. So I think for our social media strategy, we do actually connect right up to what is BC Hydro's business strategy. And for our social strategy, we start with 3 communications themes each year, no more than 3. You know, we want to kind of really pound the pavement on those themes. Those themes stay the same sometimes year over year. Clean energy is a big one. Safety is a big one. And kind of helping people conserve energy is another one for us. So we spend a lot of time in the social side. Step 2, how are we going to bring those themes to life in our channels? Campaigns is a big part of it. Campaigns is a big part of the cycle of content in social. We work side by side, our media team, to amplify their content and stories that they're telling to traditional media. We have a strategy which ensures that we've got a 365-day-a-year content roadmap. You know, we meet almost every day to talk about what we're driving in those channels, and that's layered on meeting every week and every month just to kind of make sure that we're continuing to look at best content. We spend a lot of time on channel differentiation. So what we put in Instagram is very different than what we'll put in LinkedIn and Twitter. It's almost like kind of running a whole bunch of small entities within our social team.
Demographics aren't the same.
Not at all. Okay. Instagram is appealing to a younger demographic. LinkedIn appeals to that business audience. We actually use our CEO a lot in our LinkedIn channels, and Twitter, certainly that's the outage crowd more than anything. Okay. We use video as a base for our strategy and analytics as our compass. We're watching our content all the time to see what's performing and what's the reaction we're getting from folks actually viewing that content.
Cool. We all know that social media has moved from nice to have to an essential part of a business strategy for the energy sector. How has it evolved in the last 5 years? How are you using it as an enabler for customers?
Yeah, well, it's evolved from just a kind of a side of the desk channel that we know we needed to do to probably one of our most important properties as a channel. More so than advertising in a lot of ways, more so than some of what we do in traditional media. So we are spending a lot of time thinking about how we differentiate those channels for customers. It's a place where our customers are looking for different things at different times. You know, we know on Instagram, it's a younger audience. We spend a lot of time contesting, giving things away to build the following there. Twitter is our outage communication channel. It's our channel where customers usually come if they've got a billing concern. And LinkedIn, again, is a channel where we really try to build the credibility of who we are as an organization and put a bit of a face to our CEO. I think over the past 5 years, I think what we've seen in specific audiences, they're really identifying with the channel of their choice, and we serve content to them with that in mind.
Most often than we care to admit, we forget that a big part of communications is listening. It's that two-way communications. Social listening involves analyzing social conversations within communities. It informs our strategies and helps mitigate potential concerns or issues. Are you able to share your strategy for monitoring and tracking the numerous communities in your province to ensure that you're securing that social license to operate?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a combination of online and offline listening. You learn a lot from both. Online, we use a lot of the key tools that I'm sure many utilities and many other brands use, from looking at Hootsuite to keyword searches around BC Hydro, to staying on top of mentions and comments that we're getting and making decisions based on what we're reading. But for us, there's a big offline piece too. I mean, BC is a pretty big province, and what someone listens to and participates in Vancouver is very different than what's happening in Prince George. So we rely on our community relations teams in the regions quite a bit to tell us kind of what's happening in their areas, or what we should be aware of, down from Vancouver and the social media team, so that we're actually paying attention, trying to see what's going on. So they're your
ears to the ground.
They're ears to ground, and they're going to give us heads up too. Okay. Like, heads up, this might not mean anything to you sitting in Vancouver, but this is a big brewing issue here. What are you hearing, and can you? And so there's a lot of feedback between our groups as well.
Okay. This next one here, you did talk about it earlier, just you touched on it. Communications is becoming increasingly pictographic and visual. Video content accounts for approximately 85% of total traffic right now on the internet. How is BC Hydro leveraging the rise of video communications? Can I assume it's part of your digital marcom strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of our strategy. It's a huge shift in how we operate. We've brought a digital producer in-house. We've got a digital editor as well as a videographer on staff. We have a network of other folks that we work with, video firms around the province, to kind of help us tell that story. It is really critical, and it's more and more of our budget is going towards video production, and not just long form, but certainly 5-second form and 10-second and 15-second. And we're leveraging those assets again across those social channels. It is a must-have, and if you're not doing it, and not doing it in-house, like it's about doing it, but it's also about being able to kind of do it 5 minutes from now. So the contractor model doesn't really work in the world of social. You need to be on the ground doing it in your building.
Okay. Is storytelling helping shift perception from the boring utility company to an enabler of amazing solutions? If so, can you share with us a moment you gave a customer a story to tell by providing them with a memorable experience?
Yeah, so I think if I go back to Dave, and I would encourage your listeners to go and have a look at some of our content online.
Yeah, I'll make sure we have a link to your YouTube channel. Definitely.
Perfect. People are so excited to meet Dave, and it is those
You
kids.
mean in person?
In person.
Oh, yeah?
So I mean, I think he's finding he's got this following that he's trying to avoid, I think, in his spare time, because he is at the same time he's an employee with a personal life as well. But people listen to him, and they want to learn from him. And probably the best story we had actually happened this past year. It was from a boy named Christian, and we had done a big public safety campaign last November, probably not unlike other utilities, which is, if you see a down line, stay back and call 911. If a line falls on your vehicle, stay in your vehicle and call 911 unless you need to get out. Well, Christian saw Dave's advice on YouTube during the campaign, and then one morning, when he was waiting for the public transit bus to take him to school, there was a motor vehicle accident, and a car hit a pole, and the power line came right down at the bus stop where Christian was waiting. So Christian knew what to do. He told everyone around him to stay back. He got someone to call 911.
Really?
and he did that. He did the folks there in that area a great service. Yeah. His mom actually got in touch with us and told us what Christian had done. And we connected Christian and Dave together. We invited Christian down to our offices, and Dave and Christian formed a quick video telling their story. I think that story's on our YouTube channel as well. But just a really great example. If you can tell a good story, people are going to remember it. People are going to react to it.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Here's a simple question. How do you define engagement? Different social platforms capture it in different ways. For me, the definition of engagement is the intersection between sharing content and driving a conversation around it. How is your organization moving the needle?
It's a really good question. We always start with that in mind in the social channels as well, is about how are we going to create content which elicits a conversation. A great example this past summer is we had an electric vehicle road trip from Tofino on Vancouver Island to the Alberta border. It was Dave in the vehicle showing our customers how easy it is to charge along a route across BC. It generated so much conversation, and not conversation about BC Hydro, but about the topic of electric vehicles. So I think we're proud of the fact that we were the platform upon which the discussion was happening about the pros and cons of electric vehicles, and people talking about the models they like and their charging experience. And for us, that's you can't get better than that. Like, it's not about BC Hydro. We've created this platform where folks are having a great conversation.
Cool. We're just about done here, Cynthia. Last questions, they're rapid fire style. What book are you reading right now?
I'm reading Factfulness by Hans Rosling. It was on the Bill Gates reading list. It's a good read about data.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I hate messy kitchens, so I know that's not related to my job, but it's what I come home to every day after work.
I hate plastic forks, so that's my pet peeve. What's the coolest app you have on your smartphone? What's your go-to app right now?
Okay, so coolest and go-to are different things, but I think the app that I go to all the time is Team Snap. It allows me to keep track of my kids' soccer games and their practices. There's nothing cool about it, but it's extremely practical in knowing where I need to get a kid and where for a soccer practice. Okay.
There's got to be another one for fun.
Oh, there's so many. Like, my daughter's really into Smule, so I do enjoy, which is kind of like a global karaoke app. I highly recommend it if you like to sing by yourself.
No, it's okay. Okay, so this, Cynthia, this was fantastic. If someone wanted to reach out, how would they be able to connect with you?
I think probably LinkedIn's the easiest way. Cynthia Dyson, and I'm at BC Hydro. I'm, the only Cynthia Dyson at BC Hydro. I'll look forward to connecting.
Listen, thank you very much. This was great. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun, Dan. Thanks so much, and thanks to all your listeners for listening.
Hey, folks. Thank you for joining us today. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode of ThinkEnergy. For past episodes, make sure you visit our website, hydroottawa.com/podcast. Lastly, if you found value in this podcast, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or maybe even tell a friend or a colleague. Anyway, this podcast is a wrap. Peace, everyone.